Pen. I took a theater arts class in high school, and there was this one day where we were in a group and we had to present a skit, and our group was not ready at all whatsoever. And so at the beginning of every class, we had to sit in a circle and we went around answering a question that the teacher put on the board. For this particular day, I don't remember what the question was, but it got to me, and I realized that I needed to waste as much time as humanly possible. And so um, I stared directly at the teacher and I pasted the most earnest expression on my face. And I managed to talk about vintage fountain pens for about 10 minutes straight. And I think she didn't want to stop me because it was kind of like I was giving the vibe of an autistic child, and I didn't have anyone to talk about my special interest with. Actually, when I was done with the whole rant, my friend Ryan spoke up and he was like, "Why haven't you been diagnosed with autism yet?" And everyone gasped like this was some scandalous thing to say. Well, anyway, by the end of the 10 minutes, she finally found some moment to interrupt. And when everyone was done with the question, she announced that we'd have the rest of the class to practice instead of presenting. So I guess I won. Oh, yeah. Afterwards, we got into our groups, and they didn't know I was going to do this beforehand. And so they were like, "What the fuck were you talking about?" And like, "Did you make all that up?" Which now I really know I've won at talking about pens if it gets that reaction. Honestly, that actually was not even my favorite bit in that class. I think that probably goes to the time that I brought in a smoke machine for my final exam project. But so anyways, this yap is kind of like a spiritual successor to my bit in theater arts, and I've sort of organized this into sections. So to start, why pens or how pens? I don't know. But I got my first fountain pens in my freshman year of high school. There were like four of them, and they collectively costed like $10. But my brain chemistry altering addiction to fountain pens didn't happen until like early April of 2024, and I only know that because I took my first screenshot of a pen at that time. There's this guy, Will Vintage, who restores vintage fountain pens, and then he makes drawings with them and posts them on Instagram. And that's what you see here. And I took one look at one of those pens, and it was like neurons started aligning, and they were aligning into the shape of a large fountain pen, probably. So, in case you don't know, fountain pen shows exist, and you typically encounter like one of two people there. Either it's a very old man who has a very large collection of vintage fountain pens, or there are like younger people, mostly women, who journal and buy stationery and like newer pens. And I feel like I'm kind of like a secret third option here, since I only really collect vintage pens, and I'm, you know, young, in case you couldn't tell. Damn, this is my first time being in a fandom with such a high mortality rate. Wait, no, edit that out. That is diabolical. Okay, so how pens? So for vintage pen manufacturers, the big ones are Conklin, Parker, Schaefer, Wall Eversharp, and Waterman. But Wall Eversharp is my favorite, so we're gonna talk about that one. Um, Objectively, the best pens they produced are called wall pens, which they started sort of making in 1917. And around that time, there was like a lot of rebranding, and they kept buying up and absorbing companies to get their patents and stuff. And that's not really important. Anyway, I feel like they really peaked in 1930 because they came out with this material called rosewood, which is basically hard rubber, but it looks kind of like wood. And yeah, that's peak. Like, look, it's streamlined, it's classy. You've got the wood and the gold accents, and it doesn't look like it's trying too hard. You know, like there were other companies that did similar stuff in this time period, like wood grain pens are a thing, but I think Wall Eversharp was the best. Most people's favorites from them are their Skylines or the Decobands. Personally, I think the Skylines are ugly. They're modeled after a train or something, and they were introduced in 1940. So it was like World War II time, and I guess the historical background is cool. Like they're an example of like progress and technological advancements and stuff, like Walt Disney type shit. But I just think that they're kind of. Deco bands are cool though. They're named after the big band on the cap, and they're kind of like the rich person equivalent of a wall pen, but still pretty classy, I guess. Anyway, after this, Parker, company I mentioned earlier, they bought them in 1957, and they basically drove their company into the ground. And I think like right here, there's probably some metaphor for capitalism, but this video is about pens, so I'm gonna skip right past that. Um, there's this guy, Sid Saberstein, and he revived the company in 2012. And he re-released a new version of the Skylines and Deco bands, and like I think he's really cool because he's probably like the only person alive who knows like a bunch of niche stuff about wall lever sharps. But dude, I'm not gonna mention the Skylines because I didn't care about them to begin with, but with the new Deco bands, I feel like you get the vibes of like the original Deco band like turned 50 and decided to have a midlife crisis. Like it just looks kind of gaudy. Like look at him. He looks like he's a middle-aged man that wants to buy an overpriced motorcycle. Anyway, enough of looking at that thing. I'm just gonna assume that you know nothing about vintage fountain pens before watching this. So let me tell you a little bit about the vintage fountain pen community. Yeah, basically, I know I mentioned this like a second ago, but people host pen shows where it's like this big convention just for pens. And I went for the first time last year, and it was super cool. I'd say the biggest name in the vintage fountain pen community is Richard Binder, because his website is like the go-to place for identifying a vintage fountain pen. Most people, when you ask them their favorite celebrity, they're like, oh, Tom Holland, or I actually can't think of any other celebrities, but they're like, yeah, insert recognizable name here. And I'm just over here in the corner like, oh my fucking god, it's Richard Binder. Last year, he actually did a panel at the Ohio Pen Show. Guys, this man made me want to voluntarily step foot in Ohio. I mean, I didn't. It's too far away, but like the mere thought of it, ugh. Jonathan Bailey is also super cool. Like he's the designated mechanical pencil guy. He published a book in 2024 about mechanical pencils that the Wall Eversharp company made, and I haven't been able to read it yet because it's like $100, but it sounds awesome. All right. For the last bit, I shall show you my pens and one pencil. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of go in chronological order here. So to start, we have this pen case that I made, and it kind of looks horrible, but I wanted something that would hold the 4 pens that I already had, and so I put in like a little elastic band, and I didn't use this for very long because when I got my first vintage pens, I didn't really want the pens like touching the elastic because I was worried it would scratch them. So when I went to the pen show last year, I ended up getting this one, which is a lot sturdier and it looks a lot nicer. So as for like pens, the first like proper vintage pen that I got was this tiny little ring top pen, and it's it's very cute and tiny. But there was a trend at this time to produce these obscenely tiny pens and market them as ladies' pens because, as you know, most women have the average hand size of a small alien. But it's fun though, but it's kind of scratchy when you're writing with it because the nib isn't aligned, and I have to get that fixed. But yeah. The other like really interesting notable one that I have is this Emerald Lady Patricia. This was made by the Waterman Company, and the Lady Patricia is really interesting because I have not found more than 2 listings of this particular pen on the internet, and I can't really find any information as to why there's so few of them. So I have no idea, but it's really cool. So my favorite pen out of the ones that I currently own is this Greg pen. The reason why I call it a Greg pen is because it has Greg on the cap, and these pens are really cool because they're marketed towards stenographers are like people who write in shorthand, and the Greg shorthand system is what the thing on the cap is from. As for my promised mechanical pencil, this thing is awesome. I have written so much with this Eversharp. I love it so much. Okay, so first, uh, profile looks amazing. Okay, anyway, second, you can screw the this little crown top off of it, and inside you can see that there's like lead. It has its own lead storage basically, and then if you screw it back on, you can pull the actual cap off, and then there's an eraser underneath there. And mine looks kind of botched because I don't have the right size to put in there, because the old one was like awful when I bought it, and I've just tried to like shave down an existing like normal eraser thing to fit in there, and it looks really bad, and I need to fix it, but whatever. Yeah, so these are really cool because it's kind of like, you know, 3 in 1. You get a pencil, eraser, and lead storage. Yeah. Other thing is the lead. They used 1.1 millimeter lead, and so the lead is like really thick because, you know, most like modern mechanical pencils use like 0.7 or 0.5 or something like that, and so that was really nice because I can press pretty hard. I've never like snapped a piece of lead on this thing. So yeah, I like that about it. Another cool thing is my ink collection. Or I don't know if it's really all that cool, but the I have a Waterman Serenity Blue bottle, and a bottle of Black Parker ink, Quink. It says Quink. I don't know. But the Waterman I thought was kind of funny because the bottle is like half empty at this point. I have filled like 3 notebooks worth of writing with this one bottle of ink, and I thought that that was kind of cool because it is nowhere near gone. So that's cool. Yeah. One part I haven't mentioned is before I actually got my first little wall pen, the tiny little ring top. I actually also like part hunted on eBay for a little while. Of like, people find parts, you know, of pens, and then they sell them. And so I got like this half a pen. Like, it basically just was missing like the nib and the cap. And like recently, I got a cap that was able to fit it, but the section for the original pen is too long, and so I need a new section now. So, I also have this cap that I got, and I'm trying to find like the rest of the pen for it in parts, you know. And I think I prefer trying to get the parts and then like shamble together a pen rather than like just buying one outright, because otherwise I think it would be kind of like a little too easy to just get all of these pens, because they're not like super hard to find. And I kind of want to like prolong my own enjoyment of this. That's my so yeah. Having said that, though, I do have a pen wish list. So the cap that I got it's a rosewood, like that big gold seal pen. That one is like my favorite pen ever, pretty much. And so I really want to find parts to complete that. And then second thing is the Wall Eversharp company, and also like other pen companies, not just them. They made like their own specialized little pen trays, and they'd have them in their store displays where it's like the tray, and then it has their logo at the top. And I really want this specific one made by the Wall Eversharp company, where it has wall pen at the top, because I like the wall pens. There's like 3 different types that I found where it has like wall Eversharp or just Eversharps as well. But I like the wall pen one the best. Don't ask me why. I can't tell you. It just looks the best to me. Yeah, so those were my pens. Thanks for listening to this. Appreciate it.